Okay, all right. Welcome everyone to our third session of Top Women Entrepreneurs Share Their Stories. Um, for those of you who, if you've attended the second session or the third session, please feel free to leave us your comments and your suggestions. We have received some, we do look at them. We do take them into consideration when we're creating our programming, so feel free to do that. And for those of you, if this is your first session, welcome again. And again, the goal of these sessions is to motivate and inspire you after you've heard the stories of our expert panelists, after you've heard their experiences and their advice. So my name is Navida Kadir. I'm the co-founder and executive director of One Step Forward. And I'd like to introduce my colleague, Manali Ghosh. She's the director of global STEM relations. And we are One Step Forward. Historically, what we've done is we've promoted science and technology exchange between the United States and India. And so I can share with you a few of the programs that we're kind of known for. We created with the government of India two bilateral student exchange programs, the Hrana program and the SN Bose exchange program. So through these, some of the best students in India are able to come to the United States and do a 3-month internship every summer. And then vice versa, we send United States students to India to do research in some of the best labs in India. Another platform that we've developed, which has become very popular, is Science and Research Opportunities in India. And that is for graduate students and postgrads who are finishing up their studies here in the US, but who would like to ultimately find a career and settle down in India. And so we have an annual conference every year, where we invite directors of academic institutions from India, science policymakers from India, entrepreneurs from India, STEM-based entrepreneurs from India. And they share opportunities, fellowships, resources for funding within the Indian system, and trying to help these students transition into a STEM-based career in India. We're also expanding into other areas. We're creating virtual education programming for a more global audience now. And so this program is part of that effort. This program is in entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship is so critical to STEM and non-STEM sectors. And that brought us to creating a relationship with WE, which is the Women's Empowerment Campaign. That is a networking and empowerment platform for Indian and South Asian women entrepreneurs. It's based in Chicago, Illinois. And now I would like to introduce one of the co-founders of WE. She's a very successful entrepreneur herself, real estate investor and developer, Dr. Anuja Gupta. Welcome, Dr. Gupta.
Thank you.
Dr. Gupta was a practicing cardiologist in Chicago for 10 years before she decided to switch to a full-time career in real estate investing and developing. And currently, she's a managing partner at the Veranda Retirement Community, which is a $43 million senior living development in Schaumburg, Illinois. She is, as I said, she's the co-founder of Women's Empowerment Campaign, and she's also extremely active as a community service leader. So she's also co-founder of the Voices of Indian Americans, which is a civic engagement platform. And she's a board member on the ISKCON Temple. She's been the recipient of several awards. She was the recipient of the Daily Herald Entrepreneurial Excellence Award, the Cook County Asian Leadership Award for 2018, 2019, and 2020, and the Daily Herald Influential Women in Business Award. So Dr. Gupta, we're excited to have you here, delighted to have you here as part of this session on real estate investing. So welcome. And she's
Thank
also
you.
the moderator for all four. She has kindly agreed to be the moderator for all four of our sessions. So thank you very much for that as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
And now I would like to introduce our top woman entrepreneur for today's session, real estate investor Farrah Ali. Welcome, Farrah.
Thank you.
She would like to note that her most significant accomplishment is raising two sons as a single mom. And congratulations to you on that, Farrah. We'll address that a little bit more during the actual talk. But Farrah has had and has a very successful career as an insurance underwriter in the corporate world. She uh, uh, climbed the corporate ladder and has a very successful job in insurance underwriting. While holding that job down full time, she began investing in real estate properties. Currently, she has a multi-million dollar rental portfolio with 35 rental properties. She's also the co-founder of We Win LLC, which is a company that helps novice entrepreneurs learn the ropes of real estate investing. She's also the president of We Win Foundation, which gives back to the community in many different ways, and we'll learn a little bit more about that later as well. She recently is the best-selling author of a book, Diaries of a Female Real Estate Investor. Congratulations to you on that, Farrah, as well. I did read the book. It's a very good book. And she's also an integral part of the Chicago Real Estate Investment Association. And she has just finished creating her own online real estate investing course. So many of you, if you go to our website, you'll find the link for that. Many of you might want to look into that as well. So with that, let's go ahead and let's start this really exciting session with our two very accomplished panelists in real estate investing and developing. Anuja, I'll hand it to you.
Thank you, Navita, and thanks again for the opportunity. Entrepreneurship is like not just a buzzword for me, it's something very close to my heart and my head. And whenever I get a chance to be part of it, especially talking to other younger entrepreneurs, I'm always excited to take that. I still remember the time when I was in their shoes, and the journey has been spectacular. It's been like a total adventure. So it's almost magical for me to share that with other young entrepreneurs and be a part of their beginning of their exciting journeys. But I'm particularly excited to welcome Farah to today's event. Um, Real estate has been one of those things for me, which in my own journey, I was a STEM-based person. I was a physician. I did my MBBS in India and then came to the United States, did my residency fellowship, practiced as a cardiologist for 12 years. And then one fine day, my eyes suddenly opened to real financial independence. And later on in this session, maybe I'll elaborate how that happened. But one fine day, my eyes opened to that, and there was no looking back after that. And so real estate is like particularly close to my heart as an entrepreneur. And so I'm excited to welcome Farah to the show. So I'm going to let Farah start with how she got started in the field. As mentioned earlier, she has a full-time job, which even currently she's maintaining that as a insurance underwriter. And so Farah, if you'd like to start at the very beginning of how that first step of transitioning from your full-time job to a real estate entrepreneur, and then we'll take the story forward from there.
Sure. So I guess I should backtrack to why I originally started investing in the first place. I was in a situation where, I had separated from my ex-husband, and it was a situation where I had to kind of leave without letting him know. So what I was doing was I took a couple of my favorite clothes, took my two kids, and kind of just walked out into an empty home. I had no furniture, I had absolutely nothing, because again, I couldn't tell him, that I was leaving. So, we walk in and we're like, okay, like, how do I start from scratch? And it's really scary. And at the time, I had my full-time job, which was, a good job, but it wasn't enough for the expenses that I knew that were coming, because I already knew I wasn't going to get child support, because at the time he was not working. So I knew that. So I had to figure out, how am I going to take care of these kids and myself at the same time? So what I started to do was, the first thing that came to mind was, maybe I'll go back and go to school, because I had not finished my school. I got married early. I did 3 years of college at UIC here in Chicago. And, just like most parents, like from our, cultural background, they want you to become a doctor, engineer, whatever that was. But I myself didn't know what I wanted to be. So whatever my parents told me to be, so I went into biology, right? But I really wasn't into it. It was not something, I'm deathly afraid of, like, seeing blood and all that kind of stuff. But I did it just to make them happy. Anyways, I ended up getting married and never finished school. So then I'm like, okay, well, let me go back to school and finish. That was the first thought that came into my mind. So I finished, and then I got my MBA right afterwards. And I'm like, oh, once I graduate my MBA, I'm going to get this big promotion. I'm going to make all this money, is what was in my head. Because that's what I was taught, like, brainwashed growing up. Like, you make all this crazy money. So I get I didn't get a promotion, but I went just back to work. And I'm like, I got my MBA, and they're all excited for me. They threw me a party and all that. But when I looked at my paycheck, it was, after taxes and stuff, it's what, a couple $100 more than what I thought, than what originally was. So I'm like, wait, this is nice and I'm grateful, but this is not what I was thinking it was going to be. So I'm like, okay, back to the drawing board. How do I make real money? And so I started researching online, and everything kind of led me to, entrepreneurial or stocks or real estate. So after digging further, I felt like real estate for me was the way to go, because it was one of those investments that you make, and it's, land, it's tangible, something that you can always sell when you need. It's, I think, the most, stocks are volatile. They can go up and down. You can't control that, right? But with real estate, it's always, for years and years, it's always been, something that has always over time appreciated, even though it fluctuates sometimes, here and there, but over time it always fluctuates. So I'm like, okay, this is the way to go. So that's kind of how I got into investing in real estate.
Very interesting. So you mentioned that you had, like, walked out from your husband and got an apartment for yourself, and went back to school, and then got an MBA and started your first job. And how did you support yourself, or did your parents support you during that time?
No, actually, my parents were out of state, so they lived in Florida, and my whole entire family were out of state. So I was kind of here on my own. They supported me in a way where they were okay with me getting divorced, because usually in the Indian culture background, it's like a big deal when you get a
Sure.
divorce or separate, right? So from that standpoint, they were supportive. But as far as, like, being there, I mean, they weren't able to come and live with me just due to circumstances. My dad was really sick. My mom was taking care of my dad. There was a lot of things going on. And so financially, I supported myself through that job, right? Like, that was kind of how I took care of myself. But no, I really didn't have that kind of support. And I think that's probably what made me stronger and make me take more initiative, because I was kind of like on my own in a way, right? So yeah, I didn't have that, but you figure
Okay.
it out as you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's an entrepreneur's life, right? So
Yeah.
then what led you to your first property?
So I ended up, actually going to some seminars, and I ended up taking a real estate course through the seminar, which was a really, really great seminar, honestly. And in there is when I learned that, a lot of people ask me this, like, how did you get your first property when you didn't have any money at all? So part of this program is that they do funding. Like, so when you get your first deal, as long as the deal makes sense, meaning like you're buying it at the right price, when you fix it up and you appraise it, that, it appraises for a lot more, so that, you can, what we call here, like a refinance, right? So you refinance it and you pay your lender off. So we actually have private money lenders in our group that give us 100% purchase price and 100% refinance, so that you can buy and you can rehab. You have all the money to buy and rehab, as long as, like I said, the deal makes sense, and they teach you all of that. They teach you how to do real estate the right way. So it's completely, something that somebody like me who came from nothing is able to build a portfolio.
And how did you end up finding this group which gives you 100% to buy the property with no money of your own?
Actually, it's interesting. So I actually went to a different group first, and I was going to join a program from a different group, but there was a friend I met over there, and he's like, hey, wait, there's another seminar coming the following weekend. Why don't we go to that one first, and then we can decide between the two? So it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I had to take a day off of work. It was something that I was really willing to do. I was excited about it. And then once I got to that seminar, I was like blown away, because it was a lot of great information. I didn't even know something like this existed. Like, it completely opened up my eyes to what is possible for me, for any of us, right? Like, nobody teaches you this when you're growing up. They teach you, like, kind of being like you're in a box, really. And yeah, so that's kind of what led me to that, was that 3-day seminar, they call it, here in Chicago. And they have them virtual too now, so anybody from the US or anywhere can listen.
And your own course is about that. So your own online course, which you just developed, is about that. So I'm sure that has many resources that our participants can look at.
Yes,
so,
definitely.
So how long did it take you, like, from getting your MBA to getting that first property?
So I graduated, got my MBA in 2013. And then my first property actually got in 2014. So I joined the program in 2014 with the seminar program that I was telling you about, the real estate course. And within 1 month in class, that's when I got my first property. So when my mentor was like, here's what you guys need to do, step by step, and said, no matter what, spend 45 minutes to an hour a day, doing certain things. And instead of spending 45 minutes to an hour, I would spend 2 hours, because I knew, like, I had to get ahead. I had to figure this out, because that program that I took is it's not cheap. It's pretty expensive. And I put the whole thing on my credit card because I didn't have the funds. So I had, like, pressure in the back of my mind that I have to pay this credit card off in about a year, because I had 0% interest that came in. And so I was like, but one thing that I know about myself is I think it's really, really important as an entrepreneur to know who you are as a person. I perform really well under pressure. Like, if you give me a day where I have nothing on my schedule, I'm sleeping in, I'm walking to the refrigerator, checking out what's to eat, whatever. But when I have a day that's full, I'm like running around doing all that. So with me putting that added pressure of having to pay off this credit card, I'm like, I don't care what happens, I'm going to get a property within, a couple months. That's what I had in my head.
Okay, so that was a goal that you set for yourself. But I'm sure that there was a lot of doubt and a lot of second guessing, a lot of some sleepless nights about, like, suddenly finishing your MBA, being from the corporate background and never having dealt in real estate before, to, like, buying that first property. Can you, like, go back to that time and tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, for sure. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't quit my job. Because I still work, but I'm just working a couple days a week. But I didn't quit because I needed stability, right? So I needed that day-to-day income, because it's not just about me, it was also about raising my kids. So for me personally, it was scary to spend all this money, and to know that now, I'm going to have to invest all this time. I would say that more so than that, I was worried about having to spend this extra time. I've already done an MBA, so I've spent this extra time, like, away from my kids, right? So now I'm doing this real estate investing, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't want my kids to have, emotional issues or anything like that when the parents are away, because, the father really wasn't there in their life, and I'm like the only person. So I'm like, okay, what do I do so that I can involve my kids in what I do? And that's what used to go on in my mind all the time, because I used to hear, like, these scary stories of all these psychological issues that kids have after, a divorce. And then on top of it, you don't have a father that's active in the life. And then you have a mother who's, like, constantly busy. So that was scary for me. But, I found ways, creative ways to get them involved. Whenever I used to go to properties, I would just put them in the car, and, take them with, try to get them excited. And I think that when, they saw the first property and they saw like, hey, mommy owns, this house, and they were excited and stuff. So we just, I try to be involved as much as I can with them, and so far it's worked out. But yeah, that was probably the most scary thing, is being able to prioritize the important things and balance it as a woman.
Sure, yeah. And we've talked about that in past episodes here, like the work-life balance. And what we've really concluded is that like there's no work-life balance. As an entrepreneur, you're a 24/7 person, and you just do what you need to do, and you make time for whatever else you can make, but there's like really no balance. I feel personally, I feel that's a myth, and people who achieve it are either got like either one extreme or another.
Yeah.
But for most entrepreneurs, there's no balance. Like, and also as women and as moms, our personal careers and our professional careers, our personal lives and our professional careers, they tend to go hand in hand. The times when our families need us most is also the time when the business needs us most.
Yeah.
And so there is no balance. Like we just figure it out and make it work one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so like, oh, go ahead.
You bought your first property in 2014, and as they mentioned, you have 35 properties now. Mm-hmm. So in a few years, you were able to buy many more properties. Now, did you follow the same method of the zero money down from these not personal, but lenders who lend that kind of money?
Yes, I still do that because, there's in real estate, they say don't use your own money, right? Like you save your money for, sometimes you'll need your own money from time to time if an appraisal comes in lower, or maybe you thought that the rehab was going to be 30,000, but instead it was 40,000 to fix up the property, right? So you need capital for that, but we always use other people's money. And so in the beginning, I had to be really, really careful because I didn't have any money to have any money invested in the deal. Like when it appraised, it has to make sure that it appraises high enough that I can pay the lender off completely. But as I started getting more properties under my belt and I started accumulating the cash flow, because every month, so I want to kind of explain to those people what that really means, what having 35 properties means. Yeah. First we acquire the property, you get the property under contract and you purchase it. You make money when you first purchase a contract. So you have to make sure that you're buying the right piece of property at the right numbers. Then from there, what you do is you fix it up, you improve the property, you fix whatever, make it look nice. And then a bank comes in and appraises it. So usually it gets appraised for 25, 30, 35, 40% more than what you put into it and what you bought it for. So when the bank comes in and appraises it, they give you a loan of 75% of what it appraised for. So then when you give that loan, you pay your original private money lender back in full. And now you have a 30-year loan with a low interest rate. And let's just say that loan is, with taxes, insurance, everything, is $1,000 a month, for example, right? So I owe $1,000 a month to the mortgage company who gave me a loan for that house, but I'm getting $1,600, $1,500, $1,700 rent from the tenant. So what I do is I take that rent money, I pay off the $1,000 mortgage, and I have $500-$600 left net profit that comes right into my account. So now you take that $500-$600 every month for that one property, and then now when you have 35, it's 35 times 500, and that's what's net profit that's coming in every single month. And so going back to, when I did my first, second property, once I started getting that extra cash flow, I had a little bit of money to play with because I was getting that money. And so from there, now I didn't have to be so careful about making sure that the appraisal came in high. Even if I had $2,000, $3,000 invested in the deal, it was okay. But before, if there's $2,000, $3,000, I couldn't take that deal. So I wasn't able to grow fast enough. But for people who have some money sitting around, you can scale up a lot faster than me if you do it right. And I was working full time. I just recently transitioned from working full time to part time last year.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And a lot of people are like that, right? They'll either have a full-time job or they might have a part-time job, and then they want to just acquire a few properties on the side. I want to ask you to elaborate on like what do you think is the value of having a few cash producing real estate investments in anybody's portfolio?
Yeah, so the value, I mean, honestly, it's priceless. And the reason why I say that is, we here, like with our group of, we have a real estate platform that we encourage other people to invest in, but we tell everyone, try to have at least 5 properties that you own of your own and pay them off, because that 5 property magic number is, in case you lose your job, right? You never know, like, it doesn't matter how good of an employee you are or what happens with your health issues or anything like that. Something can happen in your life where you're not getting that stream of income anymore. But when you have your rental properties, you have that backup source. So it makes life for you a lot less stressful. Yes, it's work to acquire them. It's work to get into real estate. But once you have them, oh my God, it's like half of your stress level in your life just goes down, because you don't have to worry about money. Like, we shouldn't have to worry about constantly making money. We should not have to spend 8, 10, 12 hours of our day trying to figure out how, making money, how to make money. So as real estate investors, and you know this yourself, we make money kind of in our sleep, right? Doesn't matter what we're doing. It doesn't matter if we're on vacation, we're sleeping, we're working, whatever it is, we are constantly making money. We're not trading time for money.
Exactly. And so there's this important concept about passive income, which we've talked a bit about that in previous episodes, but can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so with the passive income, basically the point is, what you should do is whatever lifestyle you want to live, right? Like, I kind of break it down into 2. One is currently what I make. So let's just say you make $4,000 a month, right? You want to take that 4,000 income that you're getting from your job, and then you want to create that passively instead. So then when you do create passive income, you actually have options. If you want to continue working, you can continue working. If the place you work sucks and you wanted to leave, you can leave. If you got, laid off, it no big deal, whatever it is, what it is, right? So the point is to take what you make now, whatever you're comfortable with, and create that passively by doing rentals. Now, the other thing that I we all have a dream lifestyle that we want to live, right? So you need to figure out, okay, what's the ideal car I want to have? What's the ideal house I want to have? How many vacations do I want to take? So you have to figure out and calculate, what is that monthly expense for you? And when you create that ideal lifestyle, all you have to do is then just get X number of more houses to have that sort of lifestyle.
Okay.
So, and that's the magic of passive income, is being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want.
True. And you mentioned that like there's this magic number of 5 properties for most people. Like, can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, so 5 properties. So the first, what we do is we build to 5 properties. So you get your $500 a month per property by taking your loans or whatever. But then what the point of that is, pay those off. So when you have 5 properties, that's $2,500 a month net coming in on average. But when paid off, it's $5,000 a month net coming in. So we think, like, even if here, like, if that you're in a bad situation, 2,500 is the minimum you could live off of, right? You get an apartment, you have enough money for food or whatever it is. But 5,000 is when you pay that off, you have 5,000. It's a pretty comfortable life for most people to live off of $5,000 a month. It depends on what you're used to, obviously, but here, like, you can have a nice, a decent home, enough money for food and all that, just basic costs, but at least you'll survive, right? So that's kind of why we say 5, because it's enough to survive and be comfortable.
Okay. So coming back to your story, so you started in 2014, you bought your first property. Now in 21, you have 35 properties. Where do you see yourself in like the next 3 to 5 years?
So 3 to 5 years, so what I'm doing now is a couple things. One is, we have a platform where we encourage other people to start investing. I have my course. So I see myself helping other people get into real estate investing, because I can't tell you how amazing it feels. Like, when you don't have to get up at a certain time every single morning. Like, it's after having kids, it's like one of the most amazing feelings to have that freedom. You're not tied to being somewhere every single day at a certain time. So, after going through that, like, I'm spending some time like educating others. And then also, as far as real estate investing, I'm going to diversify into other states. So I currently have purchased a few lots in the Florida, in suburban Florida area near Tampa. So I'm going to do new construction, so build like new construction duplex homes. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And then also I have that, the foundation, the We Win Foundation. So just kind of giving back to the communities that we invest in. So kind of still, growing. I think, Anuja, as an entrepreneur, you never stop. Like, you think you're going to take a break, but then something comes your way and you're like, no, I got to do this. It becomes almost addicting. So,
For me, I'm one of those kind of people who I'm not looking for a break. I'm actually one of those people who's like looking for the next challenge. So
yeah.
I get a thrill from that. I think that's
Yeah.
how I get my kicks. That's how I get my high. And
Yeah.
I'm like accepted that about myself. So, okay. And for a lot of people, even buying the first property is a big challenge, but like getting to, like you said, that magic number of 5 properties where they can count on that kind of backup in case something happened to their other jobs and things like that. That is like a very appealing thing to me, I feel. Recently, I've seen other friends of mine getting divorced, and somehow, one way or another, women always get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
And to have that financial independence through a few properties, I mean, I think that is like a slam dunk, which almost every woman should have in their portfolio. And the method you described to acquire the properties with no money of your own, with maintaining a full-time job as a stable source of income outside of the properties, I think that's like such a critical method that a lot of other participants, especially women, can learn from, be inspired directly from. And that's really the purpose of our series here, to learn from like real stories, how real people do it, and how anybody really can do it too. So, like any entrepreneur's life, like where we are now, it just seems always, wherever you are, it just seems like a nice, rosy place to be in. Very few people actually think about the challenges, the blood, sweat, tears, the sleepless nights, the ulcers, the compromises, the sacrifices. So tell us a bit about that. Like what do you think was like some of the biggest obstacles of your career?
I would say, managing like every day was different for me. So what I had to figure out was I always have a list of things to do every morning. Like I wake up and I'm like, okay, like I have this small list of I have to get this done no matter what, And then I have like, okay, if I have some more time, so I have one master list of everything that I need to get done, right?
Okay.
Like whether it's house stuff, it's business stuff or whatever. Then from there, each morning I take that master list. I'm like, okay, this has to be done absolutely no matter what today. Then I have this like, okay, I'll get to this, if I have extra time. So what happens sometimes is, I'll have this list and then let's just say I'm, I don't know what the kids are cooking or whatever the case is. And, a property pops up on my phone. And with real estate investing, like, you see something pop up on your phone, if you really want to, you want to grow and scale up, you're going to have to check your phone and be like, oh my God, this looks like an amazing property. So within a few minutes, I'll do my numbers, right? And then if I have to drop everything and run, I'll take the kids and I'll run, right? And so now what just happened? What just happened was my original schedule of what I had to do, like, gets put off till tomorrow. But that's okay because you have to prioritize, right? At that moment in time, that getting that property is priority because that, everything else is a process after that. But getting a property under contract is probably the most, I would say, challenging thing to do, is because you have competition. You actually have to go drive and do a little bit of work. And then you get to a point later on that, you can look at something on your phone and get under contract. But you'll learn how to do that, like if people are interested. But yeah, like each day, just being able to be flexible and knowing that sometimes the day as you planned it may not go, but it's okay. Another challenging thing was I was, as a mother, as a woman, we have a lot of roles we have to play. There's a lot of expectations for us. And I feel like I was disappointing people around me for example, like, like my mom, right? She wants me to go to every single family party out there. I have a huge family, like within a 5-mile radius, I have like 100 family members. And so I had to prioritize, and, I'm like, mom, I can't go to this family party, but I'll go to the main ones. I'll go to the weddings. I'll go to, the ones that I feel that I need to be at. But, if there's a little get together that somebody gave me 2 days notice of, I can't make it. Like, I just can't. So, it took my mom some time to understand that that's, how it is, because in our culture, like, if you don't, if somebody doesn't show up, oh, I wonder what she's up to, like, oh, family's not important anymore, that sort of thing. So, and then, a lot of expectations, I think, from women to have, your house organized a certain way, all the laundry should be done, all this, like, but those are expectations, I think, that, we put on ourselves. But I also wanted to be a good example for the kids. So, but, not did I have my laundry done every single day? No, I gave myself a break. I'm like, you know what? I put these in the dryer. I'm going to leave them for a couple days because I don't have the time right now. It's not my priority. But like, giving yourself permission and that it's okay to not be perfect was probably like the one of the most challenging things I had to go through. And that's why I kind of tell anyone that I'm mentoring, I'm like, it's okay. It's okay to be, not have to be on point every single time.
Okay. Very interesting. You talked earlier too that some of the things that made you really strong were having to walk out of your marriage and being alone in an apartment with 2 kids, and like building your strength. I feel like is one of the things all entrepreneurs are going to need at some point of their entrepreneurial journey. Like, what advice would you have for like other young starting entrepreneurs to like become, become steely like that?
Yeah, sure. I would say, for me personally, how I got through this is everybody's a little bit different, but for me, I had a strong belief and faith in whatever you believe in, right? Like, so I got through every day because I believe in a God, and to me, like, that was my source of strength. So that's what I held on to every single day. Is I like, in my head, I would condition myself like, I don't, whatever's happening, I know it's happening for the best. I know it's happening for the good. I know it's happening to make me stronger. So now, like, doesn't matter what challenges come my way. Like, I know whatever's happening is happening for my own good. And when you can, when you get to that point mentally, that's what's happening, from there, it's like you kind of almost like figured life out, right? Like, you don't let anything bother you. Just even when things happen, yeah, you might get upset for 5 minutes, but I'm like, oh, wait, I know this is probably happening for the best of me. So, or to teach me a lesson, to take my weaknesses and challenges and grow them into strengths. So that's kind of how I did it. So I think everybody's got to find their own within themselves, what that is, and kind of hold on to that. And I think it's all honestly about belief. It's about believing in yourself. It's about believing in your abilities. Even when doubts come your way, even if people are telling you you can't do this or it's not for you. I mean, how many times have people told me, you have a good job, just get remarried. Why do you need to do all of this, extra stuff? And it's like, it's when you know what your ability is and you have to go out there and serve, you have to be able to just kind of let that, let that go, that all that noise, to just keep it away. But I would say that that's probably the number one thing, is believing in yourself.
Thank you for sharing that. And actually, like you said, having faith too, like I'm a big believer of Krishna. For me, whatever challenges come my way, I put it in Krishna's hand. I feel like he's going to figure it out and he's going to come back to me with a solution. It's his problem. It's not my problem. And more or less, he's always come through one way or another. Some solution comes out, and that reinforces my trust and my faith in Krishna even more. And yeah, I feel like everybody needs that base, that spiritual base to have faith. And then some of the other things that even some of the other entrepreneurs have shared is like, and you talked about them too, of like not necessarily listening to everyone who has advice for you. Like you said, your mom, the expectations from other people have from you, they might be very different than what you feel like you're capable of yourself. and surrounding yourself with some really good, strong people. Do you have any other advice you'd like to share with the young
No,
entrepreneurs?
yeah, so the one, well, I did want to mention one thing. So when I started real estate investing, the only person that knew about my real estate investing was actually my parents and my immediate family and sisters. I told everybody, do not tell my extended family, do not tell anybody else, because I knew what was going to happen. Sometimes when people hear, oh, she's going into real estate investing and things like that, like people like would be in my, will be in my mom's ear, like just get her married or that kind of stuff. And I didn't want to hear any of that noise. So for 3 or 4 years, I think it was 3 years, that I built my portfolio without anybody knowing except for my, real estate friends and my immediate family. So that's why I would always hear things like, oh, what is she up to? She's not around us like she used to be. And then when one day my mentor put out a video, on Facebook with my story, and all of a sudden it was like, that's what like everybody was shocked, because at that time I had 16 properties. And from going to where I was to having 16 properties, like, in our real estate world, to us now, because we've been in it, like 16, 20, 25 properties is not a big deal. But for somebody who's on the outside, even saying you have 5 properties, it's like, wow, you have 5 houses, that kind of thing. So people were shocked and things like that. So, but yeah, it's like a strategy I use because I didn't want that negativity. But yeah, you kind of have to know, like who to tell. Not everybody is in your best interest all the time. So you have to be careful. You have to pick and choose who your friends are. So going back to the advice is, be around people who really actually care about you, that care about your success, people who will not be envious or jealous of your success, because that energy will come on you at some point. And
True.
you'll naturally see, like, the friends that I used to have and the friends I have today are completely different. Like, I have completely switched, because when I was starting to invest and stuff like that, the conversations were no longer relatable. And people are like, oh, like, they don't want to talk about real estate, and I'm like so excited about it. So I shifted, and I started being around people who were also successful, and we celebrate each other. Like when we get a property, we go out to dinner, we celebrate. It's fun, exciting, we motivate each other, and that's who you need to start hanging out with. So like, take a look at, around you, who's there, what you want to do, and start hanging out around with them. The other thing that I think is really important for people to know is, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to do, find yourself a mentor in that field. Make sure that they have done it already, and then make sure that you follow in their footsteps. Take them out to coffee, take them to dinner, whatever, build a relationship with somebody, and then, you'll save a lot of time. They've already done it. So why go through the mistakes that they have? They'll teach you what the mistakes are so that you avoid them, and just follow in your footsteps, and you'll get there a lot faster. But invest in a mentor. Really, really important.
Very nice tips. Very nice tips. I'll let Navida and Manali ask any questions, followed by participant questions.
Thank you, Farah and Anuja. That was really insightful, I would say. We do have participants' questions, so I'll start with that. Farah, did the pandemic affect your business? And were there periods when your tenants couldn't pay rent? And how did you handle the challenges that arose due to the pandemic?
It's a very, very good question. For me, when the pandemic, when we all went on lockdown originally, everybody was kind of like, oh my God, worried. So probably for like a month or two, I didn't even go into investing, because I stopped looking for properties because I didn't know how things were going to be. But after a couple of months, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm going to continue. So at the time when the pandemic started, I had 25 rentals, and now I have 37 actually. So during the pandemic, I actually, acquired 10 to 12 extra properties. So it personally didn't affect me. I just found other ways to get them. Like, for example, I mean, right now the market is hot when it comes to properties, right? Like, people are overpaying. They're paying $10,000-$20,000 more than what it's even listed. So it was a little bit harder to find properties on the general public market called the MLS, but I found other ways to find properties. So off market, I also put myself there as an investor. So people who, they're called wholesalers. Wholesalers are people who look for investors, cash investors, and they look for them because they have properties under contract and they need to sell their contract to an investor. So I had several wholesale deals come my way. I started looking for properties off market. I started talking to other agents and be like, hey, if you get a property, can you run it past me before you list it? Because I'll just buy it cash and no problems. I'll waive inspection. There's different ways around it. So yeah, personally, it didn't affect me. You can always. I think that what it did was it forced me to think a different way of acquiring properties. So whenever you have setbacks in your life or whatever, those things happen because it forces you to other opportunities or things that maybe you're missing. And we all saw this, right? Like Zoom, right? Zoom wasn't as popular until the pandemic hit, right? And now, even after the pandemic is over, it's like everybody's still using Zoom, and they're like, "Wow, this is great." Same thing with companies who didn't allow people to work from home. They were forced for companies to work from home, right? And then they realized that, hey, maybe this works. Maybe we don't have to work from home 5 days a week, but even a couple days a week really, really helps. So I always think that these times are there for a reason, and there's opportunity that can come out of it. As far as my tenants, all of my tenants paid on time except for one. One I had an issue with, and that's why you build a portfolio, is because you're not dependent on just one, right? Like all those other properties more than covered the rent that I wasn't getting. But at the end of the day, there was rent relief. She applied for it, and so I got it. So at the end of the day, it didn't affect me financially at all, even though, we were all worried as investors. But, I realized one thing during the pandemic, that there's some sort of negative connotation to tenants. And yes, you can have bad tenants here and there. But I realized during the pandemic that if you treat your tenants right, you take care of their stuff. Like when you have an issue, make sure that you take care of it right away. If you treat them with respect, they will treat you with respect back. And I think that's why I personally didn't have any issues with the tenants at all, except for that one. But, she actually had a valid reason. So, and as a landlord, you have to be understanding to people's situations.
Yeah, I just want to add that you have to be able to work out the situation. Sometimes it works out that they're not able to pay the full rent. You work out some sort of partial rent and
Yes.
some sort of payment program.
Yeah.
Sometimes you connect them with other people who might be able to lend them money most people who don't pay their rent don't willfully one day say, I don't want to pay my rent, I want to screw my landlord.
Right.
There's like a real issue. Especially when it comes to residential tenants. This is their home, this is where they live, this is where their families are. So they're not going to put that at risk so easily without a real issue. So trying to work it out with the tenants is always worked out for me one way or another.
Yeah.
You give them a bit of a break, you hold their hand, you leave them with some empathy, even though you're hurting because they're not paying rent. But there are many ways to work that kind of situation out.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. So we are still waiting for our attendees to ask some more questions. So please put in your questions in the chat box and the Q&A. So while we are waiting, I can maybe, I had a question for both of you. So most of our, as Navida was mentioning, our WinStep members, they are, let's say, maybe undergrads or graduate students who have an idea in mind. And they're still, like, let's say, studying. And Farah, you mentioned that you went back, completed school, did an MBA. So my question was, like, is there something that you learned over there, like that you would encourage our listeners to also, right now what they're doing, maybe hold on to that, because that will be helpful when you start from scratch as an entrepreneur?
Sure. So I think that whatever you're doing, you're absolutely right. You should hold on to that. You should get, you need you need stability in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you stop what you're doing and you go right into entrepreneurship, personally for me, I feel like it can be very stressful. So you need you need to have a backbone just in case something doesn't work out. So I would say, finish what you're doing, or if you have some extra time, start dabbling into entrepreneurship or real estate investing or whatever you want to do on the side in your free time. But finish what you're doing, do what you're doing, go into your practice or go get a job or whatever you're doing, and then build on the side. Unless your parents are multi-gajillionaires or whatever, and you don't have to worry about income or anything like that. Most of us aren't. Most of us have to, be stable and have our own income. So you should have income that comes in regularly so that your stress level is not up here, and then build on the side. I don't know, Nuja, if you agree with that or not, but that's just my take on it, my personal experience.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I mean, the concept of passive income, even for me, like, when people look at me, a lot of people who are not from the real estate field, a lot of my other doctor friends, they cannot fathom why I would give up a career in medicine to transition to a career in real estate. And this concept of passive income, which is like just too good to be true. In 5 years of being in real estate, I had replaced my whole medical income with passive income. It was an amazing thing. What I really missed in my medical career was flexibility. I had to be there when everyone else wanted me to be there. I had no control over my hours. I had no time where I could like really just say, this is what I'm going to do today. There were times when I remember when my mom was sick, I could not be by her side because I had to be in the hospital. But what I really craved was flexibility and some control over my schedule, over my hours, over my life.
Yeah.
And having passive income, which replaced my whole medical income, which, people go to medical school for years and years to become a doctor. And then when they graduate, the medical income is a pretty good income for many people. But to be able to replace the whole medical income with passive income in 5 years of being in real estate, I thought was like, it speaks to like how it can be built relatively easily. It's not easy. Everyone has to work hard for it, but it can be done in a reasonable amount of time, and many people have done it. So that gave me like once I replaced my medical income with the passive income, it gave me like the flexibility to choose what I wanted to do next, and that's why I'm able to do projects like Veranda now, which is something on my radar for like since I was a little girl. So passive income is like a really beautiful thing, and I encourage the participants to Google it to really understand what it means as a tool of financial independence, and learn more about it.
Yeah, because you're right, like it gives you options, right? Maybe some people love their jobs, but like after you build and scale up and you get your passive income, at least you have a choice. And that feeling of, isn't it a great feeling like when you get able to choose, like you have an option to pick what you want to do, and it's not forced, you're not forced into doing something because you're desperate for, income, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, no, and
yeah.
I'm like one of those people who, if I had to choose a motto, I would say live life at your own terms. This is what
Yeah.
it allows me to do. It like lets me
Yeah.
live my life at
Yeah.
my own terms.
And I realized after getting all this passive income that I have a quote, and I realized that the most valuable asset, even more than real estate or anything, is time. It's owning your own time. That's the most valuable asset, because each day you just get less and less of it. So it's like, own it, do what you want to do, create experiences for yourself.
True. I also want to add here like that the ability to feel impactful and productive. Like when you're in real estate, you're supplying homes to people to live, for their families to be there, and that, I thought that was a very empowering feeling.
Yeah.
I remember like thinking like, wow, like because of me this family has a great home, and it's just like the impact level that you're able to make. I mean, and that might come from your other regular job too. Like as a physician, I thought I was like saving lives, but to be able to like impact that and then multiply it and scale it to like a much bigger scale as you grow in your life as an entrepreneur, I thought that was a really empowering thing too.
Yeah, especially with what you're doing with the veranda, because you have a community, right? And they're it's probably like, I think maybe like one of the only communities like that in Chicago, I believe, where you have people of kind of get together of their own culture and community. And I know people are longing for something like that, to be a part of something like that. So I'm sure like when, you're a part of that for them, like that sense of belonging, that community, it's a great feeling for sure.
Yeah. No, to be able to like have a chance to build a community is priceless. It's priceless.
Yeah.
Does Navida have a question? I know Navida is like fascinated by this topic.
Yeah. We do have another question from our attendees, so I'll go with that, and then I'll
Sure.
invite Navida on screen. And I know she has also read your book, Farah, so I'm pretty sure she has a lot. But going up the lines of learning about passive income, um, so someone has asked about the zero down model and how do you get started with that. So I have no idea. So if the two of you, if you could elaborate a bit more on that.
Yeah, sure. So the zero down model, basically what we do is, once there's a property and you have a good property under contract, you just fill out like a template, and it's part of the, like the program that I'm a part of. So when you go on my website and you read my book and all that, I would say step number one would be reading my book, because it explains a lot of how that zero down and how you can scale up with no money. I also talked about my journey, and I actually have real life case studies of the properties that I did. I think have like 5 in there. So to really kind of help you, kind of ascertain like how we do this, right? So, but basically it's having a great property, and then we have plenty of lenders in our group that will fund the purchase and rehab price. And then, like I said, you just, get it appraised, refinance it from the bank, pay that private money lender off, and then you duplicate the process, and then you do it over and over again. And then after you do a couple, you don't have to do just one at a time. You can do 2 or 3 or 4. There's plenty of private money lenders out there. There's there's other lenders out there as well that do like 90% purchase, 100% rehab. There's definitely a lot of banks out there as well. But with the nice thing with, at least with our group that I know, is that they do 100%, because we're taught real estate investing the right way. There's all these other people out there who teach real estate investing, right? But the way that our mentor teaches it, since everybody kind of knows how to do it the right way, there's a lot of trust in the group.
And talk a bit, Farah, about your mentor, so people know more about the company.
Yeah, sure. So my mentor's name is Andrew Holmes, and he himself has done, I don't know, they probably have 200-300 rentals, have done like 400 or 500 flips and wholesales. So they actually are located in the Chicago area, but they do teach, kind of nationwide. So I, when I say you have to learn from somebody that has already done it, they've already went through those experiences. They already made all those mistakes. So they actually offer a program. So my course is more like a prerequisite for newer investors, because you have to have a good solid base of what real estate investing is. And then from there, like, once you know the terminology, you know how this process works, then you go into the details and the intricate stuff of, okay, like, here's how you find a property. Here's how you do area analysis. Here's how you do a rehab. How do you calculate the rehab numbers? Like, that's all part of this course. So they teach you everything from beginning to end on what you need to do to invest in real estate. So you're not going to know everything at once. It's a process, right? So you have to make sure that you start researching, start reading, start the steps now as as you're going to school or whatever you're doing. Take baby steps. Everything doesn't have to be done in one day. And then you'll notice that one small thing will lead to another, to another, to another, to another. And all of a sudden you'll realize that you just got your first property. So
yeah. And can you share a bit more details about your course? So it's available online now?
Yes, it is. So my website is farahali.org. On that website, you have the option to purchase the book, or you could buy it on Amazon, either one. I think the website leads you to Amazon, if I remember correctly. And then once you do that, you don't even have to buy. You can actually put your name, your email address, and your name and phone number, I believe. And then what you will get are 2 free gifts in your email. And then there's a 24-minute free webinar to listen to. So make sure you listen to that, because it gives you like a step blueprint. And then from there, it'll give you information on if you wanted to go further to purchase the course, and directions right there on the webinar.
And how much is the course for? And how long does the course take?
So there's 9 total modules. The course is $997, and the course is, it takes based on, it depends on how long. If somebody watches 2 modules a day, then it's 2. But I have tests, I have homework, I have templates. I make sure that I set yourself up in a way where you're ready to invest. So I have you do a personal financial statement. I have a financial freedom calculator. So how Anuja and I kind of talked about, that passive income, that goal, where you can kind of have options, like that financial freedom calculator will tell you exactly how many houses you need in order to achieve that. So it kind of works yourself way backwards. I have a template to start building your contact list, because you need to start putting your, electricians, plumbers, like all of that, start building it now, so that when you're ready to invest, it's so much easier and you're ready to go.
Okay. And just on an average, like if there are 9 modules and somebody's working full time and all they can do is like find 1 hour a day or maybe a few hours over the weekend, how long would that course take?
So each module is probably in all will take you about 1.5 to 2 hours to do the homework, to do the video and all of that. So then you could just calculate from there. And again, it's self-paced. So if you have 30 minutes, then you have 30 minutes. If you don't have anything time that day, then you don't. If on the weekend you have 2 hours, then you put your 2 hours in. That's why I did it online, because it's, people can kind of go at their own pace, rewind, watch it again, whatever they need to do.
Very nice.
Pandemic still learning, right? Virtual learning. So we
Yes.
take advantage of that.
Yes.
I did post Farah's book and the upcoming courses link in the chat. So if anyone's interested in looking further into what they were discussing right now, please do look up into those links. With that, I will invite Navita on screen. Navita, if you have any questions.
Yeah, Farrah, I just had a couple of questions based on what you'd written in the book. So did your career as an underwriter help you in honing your skills in real estate development?
I would say that, so for a lot of, as an underwriter, and I don't think a lot of people even know what an underwriter is. So I'm actually an underwriting manager, but what it is, you do a lot of analytics, and you like take a risk, right? And you figure out what, so you could do underwriting in mortgage, you could do it in car, whatever the case is. So I personally work in the auto insurance industry of underwriting. So what we do is, we don't work directly with individuals, we work with businesses. So businesses have all these clients that are coming to them that wanting to purchase auto insurance. So what we do is we manage a book of business for them. So like if that business is sending us all this business, and let's just say that, everybody in that business is saying that they're married instead of single. Like it's our job to catch things like that, because they're trying to get cheaper rates. So when you're married, obviously it's cheaper. When you're single, it's not. So we have to investigate and kind of do that. So I would say a lot of underwriting is analytical, and yes, you can apply it towards, I think assessing risk is where it helped me, because I was able to probably, when calculating the numbers, do it better, walking through a house, like, kind of using the skills I have. But I think with anything that you're doing in your life, whatever career you have, you can always take a skill set that you have and apply it to real estate.
Yeah.
And what skills you don't have, I think those can be easily acquired as well.
Yes.
Coming from a science background, I thought my math skills sucked. I was really bad at math, accounting, although those were things I had not learned, or if I learned them in school, I didn't pay enough attention. And then through my medical career, they were rusted. When I started, I didn't even know how to balance a checkbook. So learning those from scratch was a task, but it's not impossible. Any skill that you don't have, I feel you got to learn. As an entrepreneur, you'll be constantly learning new skills every single day. With my current veranda project, I had to learn to market the project to a very niche community, which I knew very little about. I really started from scratch. And one day when it's all sold out, I'll be able to like talk about all the crazy stories. I feel more crazy stories are yet to come. But those kinds of skills, like how to market to like an retired Indian person in Chicago, it was a lot of learning curve to that. So marketing, social media, accounting, taxes, finance, like those are many of those skills not everybody has, but it's relatively reasonable to acquire them over time. You have to work hard. That's like, if you are ready to work hard, there's like no skill that you can't accomplish.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And real estate investing, honestly, is for anybody. An average person can do it. Like I have a guy that had joined, and I'm not kidding, like when he first joined, even I didn't believe in him. I was like, oh my God, this guy is like something's missing up here. And I joke around with him all the time now. But like but he's like, what advice can you give me? And I'm like, advice do I give somebody that's like, missing something up there? But what I told him is, I'm like, just keep coming to the meetings, keep yourself into real estate. Like, even if you learn at a slow pace, it's okay. Just keep coming and being around these people, and come to all the seminars, all the teaching classes, whatever that is. So he took my advice, and like 3 years later, he has 18 properties. And like, I was, shocked, but at the same time I wasn't, because I knew that if you just, if you don't give up and you hang in there, anybody can do it. So that's when I really, after I saw him do it, I'm like, anybody can do this. That's when I realized anyone can do it. You don't have to have a lot of resources. You don't have to be the smartest, person out there. You could be an average person. You could, and just, have the will and desire to do it and not give up, because for an entrepreneur, real estate investor, not everybody makes it, because most people end up giving up. And, if everybody could do it, everybody would be a millionaire. But how bad do you want it?
Yeah, and the thing I like to add here is like the two things which you need in addition to like being able to work very hard are tenacity and grit. Those are things which are like basics of entrepreneurship. Being an entrepreneur is like overcoming subsequently bigger challenges.
Yeah.
And many people, that first challenge, that first obstacle, they look at it and they run the opposite direction. You need to have that tenacity and grit to get through it, to get to the next challenge, to get through that, and to keep growing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely a successful entrepreneur accepts challenges, rolls with them, rolls with the punches, and acquiring new skills maybe isn't necessarily as difficult as being able to deal with risks. Like investing in Wall Street, investing in stocks is so common now. It's just something you just have to do. But then when you talk about investing in real estate, people try to back off. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to touch this. It's just kind of like this fear that there are people lurking in every corner who are going to try to dupe you.
Yeah.
One way or another. So I think it's more like overcoming this fear that we have of risk. And I know, Anuja, you've talked about that.
Yeah. And I want to elaborate here again, like the fear of failure is a very big fear that people got to conquer. For me, it was like dissociating failure of something as failing as a person myself. Failure is a normal part of any business process. Entrepreneurship is like filled with half failures and half successes. And the sooner that you become comfortable with failing, the faster it will take you forward. Failure is it's just another thing of the process. Like, just accept that, and don't have like, especially as women, we have like this huge emotional attachment of failing, and to dissociate that is like putting away half the pain.
Yeah. Oh, the one thing I wanted to add to this is, I think as an entrepreneur or investor, you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to be ready for that, and it's been a struggle, for me, because I'm actually a very shy person, extremely shy. And so I've had to, as my book came out and my course came out, if you looked at my Facebook, like even like 2-3 years ago, you won't see anything on it, because I just wasn't the person that wants to display my life on Facebook. I didn't want, I was just worried to write a few sentences on there because I'm like, what are people going to think? Maybe I'm writing the wrong thing or whatever the case is, right? So I'm like, okay, so now I've got to market myself. And it's so hard to market yourself. Oh my God, like I can market the hell out of other people, but I can't market myself at all. So I had to learn and become comfortable with that, like promoting myself. I think that was so hard for me over the past couple months to do that. And now like I post on Facebook every other day, and I've gotten to the point where I feel comfortable. And now it is what it is. I don't really care what people think, but people are happy for me. They're happy for me. Some people aren't. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Manali, do you have any other questions you need to ask before I ask my next one?
No, we don't have any questions right now, but I would like to say that someone from the attendees, Andrea, she has given a shout out to Farah. So she says, Farah helped me get into real estate investing last year. And this past year, I have seen the fruitful results of joining her network, and I'm extremely grateful. So,
Thank you, Andrea.
Yes, thank you for sharing that with us. And so then I'll just ask another question. Farah, you were saying in your book that it takes about 1 to 2 hours per day with respect to time commitment, learning how to invest, things like that. But, is that actual? Because in addition, you were taking courses, in addition, you were, going around looking at properties or attending this seminar or that seminar. Does it take more than that? It seems like a serious time commitment, learning, actually taking those first few steps and learning all the terminology and how to do the math and things like that. Is that?
Yeah, so when you take the initial course, which is about 7 to 8 weeks long, that's a time commitment right there. Like you do have to go to class for like 7, 8 hours on Saturdays. But once you're out of that phase, yeah, if you just invest on average an hour or so a day, 45 minutes to an hour and a half to 2 hours a day, you know, there should be no issue with you. That's all you really need. Like a lot of it is taught with where you could just do everything online, virtual. You only really have to go to a house if the agent says you have to put in an offer, because a lot of times, like 90% of my properties, I can put in an offer without physically having to go. And then once you get it under contract, you have 5 days anyways to drop it. So like now you have something under contract, now it makes sense to go over there. But initially I would say you should go to properties. How are you going to learn and how are you going to build that portfolio if you don't physically go to properties and know what you're talking about? Then you get so good at it, then yeah, you don't need to spend all that time. And then from there, you find people do stuff for you. Like I have somebody who, that I send to do things for me. And I focus my time on acquiring properties because that's the best use of my time right now, is just to keep acquiring properties. There's been times where I've had so many deals under my belt that I've had to take properties and I had to give them away to other students because, there's only so much one person can take on. It's not like I have like 5 employees or anything like that. I'm doing this on my own. So which is beneficial as well, because it's helping the students around me, and the other thing is sometimes I got those deals, so they were such good deals that I could add $10,000, $5,000, $20,000 on top of it and still be a really good deal for them, and I didn't have to do anything but get under contract, and I'm making $15,000 per property. So there's different strategies that you learn as well as you go, but eventually, yeah, you don't have to spend that those crazy hours. But what happens is when you're really into it, you could be sitting there reading something for 2-3 hours and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know 2-3 hours went by because you're so excited and learning about it.
Yeah.
So don't look at it as work.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you have to love it. Also, did you have an experience where you actually did meet someone who gave you bad advice or was trying to maybe, wasn't being upfront with you, and that damaged your investment and you had to pull back? Did you ever have an experience like that? How
Actually,
easy is it to pull back if you need to?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with any of my properties, I haven't had anything where I lost any money. Like, did I have an experience where there was termite damage when I didn't know, but it cost me like $2,000-3,000 to fix? It was still a great property. So because of the way that we learned, there was no major issues with that. That's why we pay for the program, right? We pay so that we don't have to make the mistakes that we do. But before I got into real estate investing, I used to hear things like a lot of negativity around real estate investing, I would say. And one of it, something that I used to constantly hear was, well, I'm not going to go change a toilet in the middle of the night. I'm not going to take care of a plumbing issue in the middle of the night. Honestly, I've been doing this for 7 years now. Like, I've had no calls in the middle of the night with any of my tenants ever. You have issues, what they do is they text me. I have plumbers, electricians, handymen on my phone. I text them the message. I just basically forward it to them. They go out there, they take a look at the problem, they give me an estimate, they fix it, I Zelle pay them, we're done. It's not difficult at all managing. I might get maybe 3-4 calls a month, and it takes me 5 to 10 minutes to handle those. So why, for that kind of time, like, why would I want to not do real estate for that, So
Yeah.
that, like, I think it depends on who you talk to. I think people who have done real estate the wrong way have negative experiences. They bought at retail, they bought putting 20% down. So they're out of cash, or they bought the wrong type of property where they had issues. So don't listen to people who they just know that there's a right way to do it, and it's very, very fruitful when you do it the right way.
Yeah. And it seems like now you've acquired a really good team, people that you trust around you to handle different aspects of the deal, and you handle certain aspects of the deal.
Yes.
But
was
that's something you build over time. That's not
Yes.
something that's there on day one. It's not something that's given to you. It's something that you start by yourself, one person, and you build a team around you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because when I was first learning, I purposely was more involved in rehabs. I would go and check, every week I would check on the property to make sure that everything was happening. And I was learning at the same time. I was managing my own projects. Then later I hired a GC, a general contractor, who does everything for you. But before, I used to hire the electrician, the plumber, the HVAC specialist. I did it on purpose because the thing is, especially as women, if you don't know what you're talking about to people, people will take advantage of you. But if you know what you're talking about, they won't mess with you. So that's kind of why I purposely put myself in a situation to learn. And then once I knew it, I'm like, I don't mind spending $5,000-$6,000 to hire a GC to take care of the entire rehab. Like, now I just go in the beginning when I acquire the property, and at the end, I like to see the transformation, and then exciting, and then that's it. Like, you take 2 trips, and then after that, I don't have to go ever again. I haven't been to my first property in 7 years.
Wow. Oh, maybe. And Anuja, do you also have mostly residential rental income properties? I mean, now I know you're managing partner with this really large project that you're trying to do, but is that what you also have?
Yes, yeah. So I started with like residential properties. I still own almost my entire portfolio of residential properties that I first purchased. Like Farrah was saying, over time they get to like a status quo kind of phase where you don't have to be actively involved in them. So that took some time for me. I think it took like 5, 6, 7 years for all my rental portfolio to get to a place where I didn't have to be actively doing something every day about it. But once it's there, it's a great feeling. It's like cruise control, passive income, and very little hassle and headache. I hope to give that portfolio to my daughter. By that time, hopefully, the loans would all have been paid off, and it's just cash flow for her.
Yeah.
And then when you decide to go from the stage of being an investor to a developer, is that a really big leap, or what exactly is the difference? Now you're building things instead of just, purchasing buildings that already exist. Now you're coming up with your own ideas and building things.
Yeah. It's a different ball game. I feel not too many people are cut out of it. There's very few women developers in the whole country, and it involves a lot more than just. So buying a house, I mean, relatively speaking, compared to other things in real estate, buying a house and renting it is easy. Real estate on the same scale would be like the other real estate development on the same scale would be the other extreme, where a lot more goes into it. starting. So when you're buying a house, somebody has done all the hard work of like building that house, and like everything that you can imagine, from like starting with raw land to getting a completed house, and then you're just buying the house from them. So all that work that went in real estate development is that like you start with raw land. So it's a completely different skill set. It has some commonalities, like once the houses are completed, you rent them, and that's how you make money from them. But the field of development has a lot more to do with like dealing with the village, other municipal authorities, the permits, the zoning, all the legal problems, the legal hassles, uh, a lot more than buying a rental portfolio, I would say.
I see. So it sounds like, surround yourself with, make sure that the original courses, the information that you're in, make sure it's reliable. It's from reliable sources. And then go ahead and jump in and get started, get the experience that you need, and, hopefully start building a team that you can trust.
I always like to tell the participants that they have to start somewhere. None of this is going to happen if they don't start. So anywhere you start is a good start, but you do have to start somewhere. And once you take that first step, the second, third, fourth step is so much easier. So like just take that first step. Just push yourself to take that first step.
And the people that are on this, you've already taken the first step by logging in on a Saturday morning, and taking the time to carve out to listen to this. So you've taken the first step. Now continue.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Many people would love to have, I think, rental properties, because the job climate, companies aren't what they used to be anymore, where you could get into an entry level at a position, build yourself all the way up, stay in the same company for 25, 30, 40 years. People don't do that anymore. There's not that type of loyalty, and it's not even practical anymore. Companies grow, they expand, they change. The same thing actually needs to happen to people. Even you, Farrah, in your book, you said you were receiving promotion after promotion at the company that you worked for, and then suddenly you didn't know why, but you were let go. And your boss was not only a trusted mentor, but she was also a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it can happen. It happens to so many people. Then what do you fall back on? So
Right.
yeah. And do you know why? But I was so curious. It was like shocking when I read that. I was like, oh gosh.
And even if you're fully happy, even if you're fully happy with your job, if it satisfies you in many ways, to have this other source of income, like in real estate, there's this concept of multiple sources of income. To have this other source of income, which is different from your main source, which, like, God forbid something happened to the main source, you have this like backup, which is separate, independent kind of source of income. Real estate allows that. Like for many people, it gives you like that fallback, plan B, the contingency plan of their life.
Yeah. And I wanted to add in, and what I think is really important, for the younger audience is, you're still learning who you are. Right now, you're kind of doing things based on, what maybe your parents told you or society tells you. So at those ages, right, you don't even know what you like at this point. And as you grow older and you get into your 30s, and then, as you mature and you're like, okay, this is actually what I like. And a lot of times this happens where people go into a field and they're not really happy with their field. They just did it because somebody told them that that's what they had to do. So be prepared now. Like if you get into real estate investing, like at least you have that passive income. And then when you realize at some point, like this is not what I want to do, or people change their mind about whatever, maybe what once was exciting is no longer exciting to them 10 years later. So all of those things that come up, be prepared now, so that when they do come up, you're ready.
Yeah, and one final thing I wanted to talk about was the foundation, Farrah, that you have. You described how fearful you were of being able to successfully raise two sons as a single mom. As you were going through that experience, and as you were building your portfolio, what did you wish you had from the perspective of a mother, what resources did you wish were available that either were provided by the government, like in terms of sources of funding or childcare? Is there anything that specifically came to your mind, like, I wish there was this out there for women who were trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do, start their entrepreneurial journey? And is that kind of the reason why you started your WeWin Foundation?
So the WeWin Foundation was more because when the pandemic hit and we're like, okay, we don't know if we're going to invest, like we started hearing stories about people already starting to struggle. So we started doing food drives, turkey drives. We gave away money for rental assistance, all of that sort of stuff to help to give back to the community. So that's kind of what WeWin Foundation was about, was to reinvest in the communities, you know, that we invest in, where our tenants are at, all that sort of stuff. But, you know, something where I wish I had, I know there's a lot of resources out there for women, and there's grants and things like that. But, you know, I feel like you have to like really spend time to go research them. Like, I don't feel like they're just like readily available, and I don't feel like it's an easy process. Like, I know I applied to some, but you know, they give away one or two out of like the hundreds of that apply. So it's like, you know, like, I think if there was easier, the process was easier, and something where they would like actually market to us, and so that we knew, because sometimes we don't have time for all that, right? We don't have time to sit there and research, or maybe I didn't know the right people at the time. I wasn't connecting with the right, you know, people that would tell me about these things. So, you know, but I don't really blame that on anybody but like myself. It's just I was in that situation, but it would be nice if there was easier access to that, to things like that.
I want to add that, like, outside of real estate, the small business administration is like a really accessible tool which is available for many budding entrepreneurs to start a business. I personally know many people who started their entrepreneurial business with a small business loan, and it's a government program, extremely accessible. They want to support like the starting entrepreneurs, especially women, especially minority women, but everyone. Extremely accessible program. Not so much for real estate, but for entrepreneurs wanting to start their own business.
So maybe we need one for real estate investing too.
There should be, you know, and then this is where, like, at some point in our lives, when you say about giving back, to me, giving back is like giving your time towards those kinds of like policy changes that enable this kind of facilitation.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working with our local congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, and by the area where we are in Veranda, in the Schaumburg area of Chicago, to facilitate that for other people. You know, like, so there was the rental assist program was like a statewide program, or maybe it was a federal program, but many people were not able to access it for this and that reason. So to me, giving back is like getting involved in like that kind of like little details and making it work for someone. So even like the emergency loans that the federal government gave out when COVID first started, the EIDL and those kinds of emergency assistance loans, there were many people who were not able to access them. Myself and the other women of our V Foundation, we took it on ourselves to be the handholders of anyone who was not able to get like the loan that they deserved or the assistance that they would qualify for. And we were successfully able to, like, it just took a bit of handholding, a bit of knowing the right people, a bit of connecting. And it felt so good to be able to like go back to those ladies and them able to get the assistance that they deserved. So that's another way to give back. I feel like, to like be involved in like these kinds of policy changes, or facilitate like where people are falling through the cracks, and be able to connect them to the right sources.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I just want to like leave one piece of advice, and was, you know, try to be a giver and not a taker. So start with giving first, because it will open up a world of opportunities by you giving first, and rather than always take. There's always people around that, you know, try to eat up your time, and all they're trying to do is take your information, but they don't want to give anything back. So start with giving, and then everything else will follow.
Thank you so much, Farrah, for sharing that.
All right, so I think that's it for today's session, right, Manali?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to thank both of our expert panelists today, Anuja and Farah. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for the information that you have shared with us. And I guess that's it. We'll say
Thank you.
bye to
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks for having us.
Resources on our website.
Session next Saturday, so please do join us for that as well. We'll be back with another top woman entrepreneur.
Yes, and there's a question. There's somebody asked a question. Robin asked, "Will the recording be sent?" Yes, we are going to timestamp it and put it up on YouTube, and you can go to the One Step Forward YouTube channel and see it there. In addition, go to the One Step Forward resources page. There's a lot of resources that we're going to be putting up regarding not just information pertinent to today's session, real estate, but on the other sessions as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.